You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 13th, 2024 meeting of the LaPorte County Drainage Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We'll call the meeting to order for the August 13th, 2024 Drainage Board meeting to order. Stand and have pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Joe Cuson.
Here.
Hugh Glasgow.
Here.
Tony Hendricks.
Here.
Connie Grammarosa. Jeff Mitzner.
Here.
Pat Vance.
Got a motion to approve the minutes of the last month's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Ed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. First one item, agenda, Rodman Ditch Parker bank spraying. So, you got anything you want to say, or?
I talked last year.
Harold Parker, Parker Farms, 2602 East State Road 4, LaPorte, Pleasant Township. I showed you all the stuff last meeting about, and we'd sent the stuff in about the destruction of the crop on the right-of-way. We deem this as a taking. If you're going to claim right-of-way and going to kill a crop, you're taking the property, and that's against the law. So, and after that meeting, they came and did the same damn thing they did last year with a Jeep running over the side of the crop without any jurisdiction of what's growing or the economic. When we rent ground, we rent all the ground, not just the. So this is an economic deal. So, and there's some cases about taking that's just come through the Supreme Court about dumping water and everything else. There's a precedent for taking property rights. So we need to clean this up. And the only spots are running it over is where we can grow crops that the banks are not really needing that kind of coverage. The grown up spots where it's all weedy already, they're not running over their crops, there's nothing there. So I think in most of our ditch banks that we run, we could use a drone very effectively without having to get human. And they can get in there with a camera and see exactly what they're doing. And you've got a recorded doctrine then. What we're down now is guesswork. And the state chemist says, yes, they have the right of way, but they don't have the right of way to destroy all the crops with spray. And some of that went way outside the right of way. So we're looking for you guys to do something about the people you hired to do such things. So, you have any questions for me?
Anybody got any questions for Harold?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anybody got any discussion on this?
Well, I hate to see this bank spraying go away. The Kankakee River Commission spraying the banks, and Army Corps of Engineers contracted out to spray from St. Louis to Minnesota. It's a cost-effective way to take care of the drainage.
I think John passed out to you guys. I've got a copy of the code too, but it should be section 36.927.33. So under section D, it does say, and this is Indiana law, this is your statutory law that gives you your authority of your 75-foot easement. It says crops grown on a right-of-way are at the risk of the owner, and if necessary, in the reconstruction or maintenance of the drain may be damaged without liability on the part of the surveyor, the board, or their representatives. I know Mr. Parker doesn't agree with that law, and he's certainly welcome to challenge it. That wouldn't be your authority to change the law. That's the section of the code that addresses the 75-foot easement and growing of crops on the easement.
State chemist said you can't kill the crop.
I'd like to make a motion that we dismiss this claim with no further action.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to dismiss the claim, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right. Moving on. Harry Skozak of the Hendrick Drain Pipe. Come forward, please. State your name and address.
Harry Skozak, 531 West 1000 North, LaPorte, Indiana, Springfield Township. I have a neighbor and a relative, sibling that many years ago there was I own 2.5 acres and my neighbor owns 2.5 acres, which is not a relative, that there's a low-lying area in our backyard, and for many years ago there was a clay drain pipe going from that low-lying area into one of the Hendricks ditches, and the property was owned by my father. Well, my sister ended up buying the property, and maliciously, after she purchased the property, she knew that if she damaged that drain pipe, that it would eventually flood my neighbor, which is a disabled American veteran. Since then, I have kind of tried to ease the damage to, his house and my property, and after looking at the outlay of the drainage, Hendricks drainage, we discovered that the Hendricks ditch was not coming up all the way to the road along the east side of my property. Well, I can't tie into it if it's not there, but there is a 20-foot easement along my property, which years ago I had to fight the property owner behind us for rights to it, and it will allow, if I could, I would like to put a 6-inch drain tile on that easement back into a wetland area to drain the property of our, my neighbor and my property, which would lead into the Hendricks ditch. I just want to have the drainage board permission to actually put that in at the cost of myself.
Wait, Tony or John, you guys look at this?
John did some looking into the Hedrick, and it's short.
Yeah, it's about 900 feet short of where it shows on the beacon.
Yeah.
It actually ends in the wetlands. It doesn't extend all the way down to the east side of Mr. Skozak's property. So there's a mistake on beacon.
So to let Mr. Skozak, and we're going to look at Brad here. I think the board could make a motion to approve him to enter into any easement with his drainage tile, pending a hold harmless and pending, whatever we have or we have jurisdiction over, but also pending the, I don't know how to say this, the permitting or the concern that you don't drain that wetland. So that's going to be up to you how deep you put that drain tile, because they're two documented wetlands. And I don't know, it's isolated in the new rules that happen in July. I don't know where you're at, but that'll be up to you and the board doesn't get involved in that, to make sure that if you put this pipe in, you don't actually drain that wetland, you just take the overflow, because there's going to be a high water mark and a natural elevation that I'm sure with the animosity, so the Army Corps will probably come look. I don't think they have jurisdiction. It's not my place to tell you they do or not, but I think the board can approve whatever jurisdiction we have to allow you to put your 6-inch drain tile within our easement with a hold harmless and that we don't drain that wetland. And you seek the proper permits and approvals to do that. That's no big deal.
I have a question. The tile that was destroyed, was that on the easement or outside of it?
No, it wasn't.
I believe it just went at a diagonal right to the wetland, shortest path.
It actually didn't enter into the wetland. It actually went from my neighbor's property more
The northwest.
northwest
The northwest.
to a different Hendricks ditch.
Yeah, different arm.
Well, I moved it, he'd be allowed to put a drain to our Hendricks ditch, and that he should sign a hold harmless agreement, take care with the wetlands.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passed.
We can get you a copy of the hold harmless and get it to John.
And to clarify, they're giving you permission to use the drainage easement, like to the extent that they can. You may still need to check with either the Army Corps of Engineers or Indiana Department or the DNR.
And we can give you the documentation that shows it's short, so whatever happens between our easement and you'll have to take care of.
Okay. Thank you.
Number 4, tree removal of Rodman Bowl and Little Kankakee River.
Yeah, I was out in the field in the last few weeks and I've noticed in those 3 different areas, there is trees across the ditches completely. The water is still flowing, but it could be an issue very soon. So I would like to have a motion to put it out for bids to have these trees removed.
We would have considered this an emergency, but since we had a meeting today, we figured we'd just wait and make it public. They are very bad. Oops, yeah.
I have a question. I know there's some fencing along the bull ditch. Is that fencing in this area?
Not there, no.
Okay.
So can I have a motion on that?
Still looking at the pictures.
They don't look good.
Well, I move that we put it out for bids to have those trees taken out.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passed. Monthly reports, Hudson Lake.
Georgette Joyce, 7299 East Hudson Point Lane, New Carlisle, Indiana. So the lake level is around just over 6 inches. The tow hawk was serviced and we were able to reinstall it July 15th, so it was out for a little over a month. And we got to do 3 calibration readings with John on July 26th. The device read 9.6 inches. The spot where it's located measured just manually 10 inches. And then John did a measure by the weir and it was 10.32 inches. So we're within 3/4 of an inch when we measure across all those, so that we're close enough. And then we lost about 6 inches since our last meeting and 3 to 4 inches since July 26th when we did the reading. So it's tough. We all need water, right? And no incidents on the lake that I'm aware of. And thanks to John for continuing to send out these spreadsheets. So the Lake Lyric grants, we had some great news, and that when we did the sorry, I'm losing my voice, did the visual inspection of the lake before we treat anything, we found that the Eurasian milfoil was only small clumps across the lake, so that's excellent. It means they changed chemicals a couple years ago, and it means that chemical is really doing a great job. So we didn't have to treat it this year. We'll still monitor it because obviously there's still something there that we may have to do in the future. And the starry stonewort is the one we still have to treat. That actually increased in where it's at. So we tried to get the biggest buck for our money and treat mostly in the back west side of the lake. And probably we will have to do a second treatment to keep that crazy species at bay. And And then the dredging is moving forward. We have permits. We've got the scope figured out. We've got bids in. So now it's just a matter of figuring out the financing. And we're still targeting fall, crossing our fingers that we can get that all worked out. And been working really close with the DNR on that, and it looks promising. And we're having finally our next meeting to look over the drain agreement on Friday this week. It's been a long time since our last meeting, so hopefully we'll get to that and get that moving on so we could be out of your hair.
Nice.
Okay, anybody got any questions?
No?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brad, you got anything?
Nothing.
Tony?
The only thing I want to bring us down on the agenda is Mr. Kessler's in the audience, and the Mr. Sikorsky, Kessler, and Vader has some changes to it. I don't know if he wants to come up to the podium, but Mr. Sikorsky added a cross access from his property to his property across that, and he put a 6-inch corrugated drain tile, right? Just a cheap 6-inch. The field tile, it is at an elevation lower than Mr. Vader and Mr. Kessler's need, but it does take a while to drain any storm that hits. And again, we haven't had any storms, but we don't want to wait till it gets too late.
No, we don't. Gary Kessler, 9522 North 200 East LaPorte. And I want to thank the board for their help in their specialty meeting on a Thursday to get the problem solved. And I got the beans planted June 18th by the time it dried out. And now he's put in a rock
crossing,
and he's got the rock, and then about a foot or so above it, he put a 6-inch corrugated tile in, not a driveway tile, but it's just a corrugated tile. And when he drove across it, it kind of smashed up. He put post on top to put it back down again. If we have a 2-inch rain, my ground will flood out again, and I'll lose the crop again. So I'd like, and I offered to buy the drainage pipe, and then Tony, you take off from there.
Yeah, so I tried to contact Mr. Sikorsky, phone, text. I have not emailed him yet, but I would like the board to put this on the agenda next month. If he does not do anything, Mr. Kessler's offered to give us a 12-inch drain tile, a solid drain tile, and we could have either the county install it or hire Mr. Sikorsky's people who install it. And we just want to make sure we keep this on the agenda because we do not need this we need this done before rainy season.
And I'd like the county to do it because he doesn't do it when he's asked to do something.
Yeah, it's either the county going to do it or I believe he's hiring a private entity, and we will find out who that is.
I think that'd be great.
Was this crossing part of the kind of the agreed upon settlement, or did he do that afterwards?
He did that after, which we knew he could put a crossing in, but we wanted to make sure he put the right tile in at the right elevation.
Yes.
So the calculation numbers are the 6-inch tile would, if a rain hits, it would take 9 hours to drain. If a 12-inch tile puts in there, it would take approximately 3 hours to drain. If it's two 6-inch tiles, it would take approximately 6 hours to drain. So that the discussion is not that we can't put a big enough tile that completely stop the field, but we don't want to flood out his crops and kill them. We want that rain to go away as quick as we can.
That's right.
Tony, anything less than a 24 is going to plug up. My opinion.
Yes, it could, and that's why the other reason we want something bigger than a 6.
But
I don't think he can get a bigger than a 12 because he's got a crossing. We'll ask.
How wide? Is he putting in a 40-foot or a 20-foot, or what's he doing?
It's just a little 20-foot crossing. It looks just like a motor vehicle, not for a combine.
So you're talking 30-footer tile?
Yes, not much.
So you want to put in a steel tile, or what do you want to put in?
A plastic, double-walled plastic.
Double-walled plastic? Okay.
Yes.
Smooth inside.
That's right.
Yes.
But I mean, a 6-inch tile, this big, it's going to plug up with about 10 leaves, and
Yes.
What's that going to do?
Yes.
And a lot of leaves around that area. So whatever size you want, I'll purchase.
Okay, Tony, we've dealt with this, and Brad, help me out here a little bit. We've dealt with this long enough. We're not going to go past 3 meetings on this thing again. So can we put in there that he's got to send him a letter, say that you got to fix this by the next meeting, or if not, we're going to take care of it. We're not going to deal with this any longer.
Yeah, I think that's Tony's recommendation, is that if he either addresses it before the next meeting or you guys take action.
Yes.
Right.
And I guess put in there that you said you'd pay for the tile if you,
Yes,
and
I
get it
will.
put in right, and
Yes.
let's try to get this taken care of ASAP.
I'm so sick of him. I really am.
All right, so I suppose I need a motion on that. Can I get a motion on that for Tony to take care of that?
Okay.
Well, not everybody at once.
Yeah, no.
Sends a letter, asks this be remediated before the next meeting. The tile to be determined by Tony, the size and the elevation.
And if it's not,
And to add this to the agenda for the next meeting to confirm that it's been completed, otherwise the board will take action.
What he said.
what Brad just said, that was perfect. Yeah, I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And thank you very much.
See you out there. That's all I have.
All right, joint boards. I just am gonna say this, I do have a joint board meeting Thursday with the Fort County. There's some situations going on with the new solar fields coming in, being on our easements, working on the easements. So I just asked Tony and John to check in with the solar fields coming in LaPorte County, that we make sure that we're on the same page, and if they want to be on our easements or if they want to work on our easements, they have to contact us and go through the proper channels. So we are going to be working on that a little bit.
We can refer back to that same code we cited earlier. So if they are going to put any structures on there, any permanent structures would have to be only with your approval. Any temporary structures they could put on the right of way without the written consent, but they have to be removed at your request. So it's one thing if they're going in and doing the construction, but if they're putting any structures on there, this board's got to be involved.
Well, if they going through and they're going to run wires or something through our easement, we still have to be involved, correct?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
permanent.
So those guys can take a look at that and get back to us in the next meeting.
Joint board, we have a SCA meeting for the Yellow River, the Kankakee Yellow River Basin Commission at the Range Road on the Yellow to potentially move an island in the Yellow River, which stops soil. That's tomorrow morning at 10. So if anyone enjoys going down to an SCA meeting, that's the next meeting for the Yellow River Basin Commission.
Are there trees on this island?
Yes. This is the first island where we're looking at permitting to remove, because it's jurisdictionally almost impossible, but I think we're gonna get it done, because then we're gonna move down into the 10 Mile Road for those islands on the Yellow. That's all I have.
Good work.
Well, hope Scott gets it done.
All right, moving on to 6 claims. M&K excavating, beaver dam removal, cook ditch, $1,000. Is that the only claim you got?
No. The right-of-way management did the bank spraying, and they did it on 6 different ditches. And their claims are $8,318.24 for the O'Hara ditch, $3,071.90 for the Bull ditch, $7,260 for County Line ditch, $2,958.28 for Behringer ditch, $5,758.02 for Little Kankakee, and $12,145.90 for the Rodman.
What's the total?
Total is $39,512.34.
There's money in all these funds.
Yes, and it's actually less than the original estimate.
Oh.
Because there's areas they couldn't get to spray, and then there was homeowners that requested to not be sprayed.
Did those homeowners agree to take the brush down also?
That I don't know. I hope so.
You looked at this?
Yes, I looked at them. It looks pretty good.
I see there's 1,200 feet on the Bull ditch that they didn't spray because there's a fence.
Yes. Yep.
Do we need to send that person a copy of this drainage law about temporary or permanent structures being removed?
Do we know when the fence was constructed? How old does it look?
It's old. It's been there.
Looks like you would like to deliver that notice.
I'm familiar with the area, and they have stopped contractors from digging there before, intimidated contractors.
Yes.
I think he should be at least aware that it's illegal to have that fence there.
Send him a letter, I guess.
Have Either John or I could send the letter. If you could provide me the information of the property owner, I can put a letter together.
Good idea.
So, question, where we stop spraying at, where this homeowner is that doesn't want it sprayed, they can't legally stop us from doing that, can they?
No.
So when there gets to be a situation there and we have to dig that ditch and we got trees there, who's gonna, we have to still pay for that, correct? Or do we, is there somehow that if they stop us from spraying that they have to pay for that?
You could put an agreement together with them where they assume additional liability for it, but really what the law allows is just what you're saying. They can't tell you not to, right? I mean, they can't tell you not to spray. It's your easement. You've got the right, you've got the responsibility to maintain the ditch or the drain.
Well, I guess I'm gonna say that from now on, we need to make sure we go through those places. If we have the legal authority to do that and we're paying for this, we need to somehow,
Or if you're going to choose not to, at the request of the property owner, that you enter into some sort of agreement with them where they're acknowledging that you're not spraying at their request and that they're going to now take responsibility of any overgrowth or any removal.
but then the problem with that is what happens if they sell their house and go to the next person, then we're,
You would have to do it in a recordable form, so you could put it almost as like a, not necessarily a lien, but a document that attaches, a lis pendens type of document that attaches to their property. So it'll be on property records.
so is that a document that you need to write up so that we have it for these people that don't want to do this, or
Yeah,
what?
I can't imagine there's one already in existence, so we'd probably have to create it. So yeah, I'd have legal prepare at least the initial one.
Can I get a motion for Brad to go ahead and work on that?
Sure.
Sure.
Moved.
I got a motion of sure and so moved for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
I think I know what I'm doing now.
I guess my question is, the property owner can just tell the person that's doing the spraying, don't do it?
Well,
It's kind of like surveying. If they tell us not to get off their property, our choices are to leave or to call the county sheriff, and we've done both of those, and that would be up to the sprayer to call John and the county sheriff and say we're spraying, and hopefully the county sheriff would back you up and let them spray, or we would be told to get off and we would have to legally.
Yeah, I think part of the procedure or the procedural issue is going to be this board meeting, once a month. Those decisions are made at the moment, right? They're not, we're going to put this off for 3 weeks until the board can convene and tell us what to do. So, yeah, I think it should be reported back from the contractor, certainly to John and Tony, if somebody's refusing to allow access to the property. And then maybe we can have a discussion at the onset of the contract, are we going to even entertain something like that? And then if somebody does, then we can have this new form that we'll put together, the document that the property owner, if the board approves it.
well, because we're going to be running into this more and more.
Yes.
Possibly. I mean,
So how far was that did not get sprayed on that ditch by where they were at?
I'd have to look into that to get the exact how much it was.
Here, it's right here. The
1,200 feet?
footage is right there, didn't spray. The other one didn't spray.
What kind of fence is it?
Livestock fence.
Yeah, just to.
Who in their right mind wouldn't want their livestock fence sprayed? Oh wait, I didn't say that, did I?
No, it all comes down to a confusion over the easement. Most people aren't aware of the type of easement we have.
especially with the increase, like we just saw earlier, you've got a lot of power line and utility easements coming through. Their agreements are different than what your authority is. So there's this misconception, and those agreements are very clear. If we come in and damage your crops, we're going to compensate you for it, either during the construction or during the maintenance of the power lines. So that's not what the law gives here, right? Or that's not how your easement is created. So you're right, Hugh. A lot of that is a misunderstanding on the property owner's part. But I don't know how we go about educating a wide variety of people.
Eating a blueberry farm. 1,200 feet in the blueberry farm.
Well, I could understand the blueberry farm. That would be a bad deal. You know, I mean, that they're pretty sensitive to that. Means I own a blueberry farm now. I know exactly what that means.
But they would
So,
take care of it for us after their blueberry for.
yeah, and you could spray that fence row then, or that ditch bank then when the blueberries go dormant. That would not be a problem. But they just, at that time, they probably could not spray that when they were going through there. So, but I guess my question is, after we get this letter written, do we go back to these people and say, here, this didn't get sprayed because of you? You know, I mean, how do you handle that?
Well, that's at the board's discretion. I mean, you still have the authority to go in and spray right now. I mean, the purpose of the letter on the bowl ditch was just to let them know that their fence is encroaching on the easement and to point out the section of the code that lets them know very well that if need be, that fence will be removed.
Well, I'm not so much about the fence. I'm talking about the houses that we sprayed around, you know, these Sherwood Estates, because I guarantee you, and I don't know where this is at, but Sherwood Estates starts having a water issue in their estates, then they're going to come to us and say, well, you got to need to clean a ditch, and it's going to cost us 3 times as much to clean a ditch because we got to remove the trees first.
Well, I mean, I suppose that could be the start of, you know, what we're talking about as far as an agreement. Because right now, contractor's done with the spraying, but they only billed you for what they did. Obviously, they didn't move forward. You still have the authority to do that, right? So I think reaching out to those property owners and saying, you know, either we're going to spray or you're going to enter into an agreement with us.
That's the letter that Hugh wants us to send.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Also, I think many property owners think this is county money, and hey, if it costs extra, the county's gonna pay for it. But this money comes from assessment of the
Very specific
people that are
property.
living along there. They're the ones paying the money, them and their neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't think they understand that the cost is small to do this and the cost to remove trees is very expensive. Mm-hmm. And they need to understand that.
What is that, 28 cents a foot? That's pretty cheap.
Yep. Could be $28,000.
$5 a foot for trees.
At least.
So I don't see what you guys have in front of you. Do you have a map identifying which properties specifically weren't sprayed? And
no, they just got it
the
on a
invoice.
sheet where they subtracted it off.
And but they do send us maps and photos where they didn't spray.
Okay.
We could forward that to you.
Yep.
So I guess we can have that for the next meeting so we can move forward with this and try to get something figured out.
Yeah, the point will be to send the letter out in the next week or so that they've got notice prior to the next meeting, and then we'll see if anybody's responded, or if not, then the board can decide how they want to move forward.
And tell them when the next meeting is, they can come here and speak their piece.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get back to the claims. Does somebody want to make a motion to accept those?
I move we pay all the claims.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Do we have anything from the public comment? Wait, you already had your turn.
And I'm a public. Just a comment on the spraying and stuff. I've been coming to meetings for a while, and it seems that there were people who showed up at the meetings and asked not to spray and then volunteered that they would take care of the ditch. So you guys have been doing that for a while. I just wanted to share that I witnessed.
Well, if they want to volunteer that they're going to take care of their own maintenance of the ditch,
Yeah.
that's fine. But we just don't want to need
Correct.
cottonwoods and
totally
everything
agree
else
with what
growing
you're
up there.
doing, but just, sharing that, that seemed to have worked out.
Well, I think we're going to give them that option.
Well, and it's different if they show up here and say that.
Right.
Then we've got a record of the request and of them assuming responsibility. This is kind of a little new in the sense that, it came from the contractor that was out spraying, basically just being told don't do it. And then now you guys are hearing about it however much later.
Yeah, and I think your process is really good where you're heading, but just sharing that I had witnessed people asking.
Well, thank you. And if anybody wants to come down and spray my ditch banks for me, they're more than welcome. All right, if that's it, we'll adjourn. Next meeting will be September 10th in this room at 8:30. Thank you.